I'll bring this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order and welcome everyone here. We'll start with a roll call. Let me see, Brad
Here.
and Sally
Here.
and Matt,
Here.
Emily,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
James,
Here.
all members present. And Emily, you will kindly take the notes.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can thank me later. We'll see.
We're all thanking you. No question about that. We have an agenda before us, and I would like approval of that agenda by voice vote, except that there is one change, and that is that as we were notified this afternoon, the minutes are not quite ready for this meeting, so we'll have those minutes of our March 2nd meeting next time. All in favor of the agenda as we've been given it? Aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? Okay. First item on the agenda is the preliminary plat for Parkside Hills, second edition. I don't know that I noticed lots of changes in the revised preliminary plat. Any comments on that preliminary plat? My way of looking at roughly similar to what we've seen before. Maybe I'm wrong. Is there any, do you see any
No,
changes?
no, I didn't see any changes. The only thoughts I had that I thought I'd bring up is, we see all these parking spaces,
Right,
your parking spaces based on type of use. So, and if you look in the code, it says, restaurants, it's one parking space per 100 square feet. And office building is one per, I think, 200 square feet or something like that. So we really can't determine how many parking spaces are actually needed. So until we get some uses in, that's technically going to dictate what kind of uses that can go in there. Because if you get up, 95% of this is being restaurant, that's really going to increase the number of parking spaces, then, which is going to more or less tell you you can't have as much retail if you don't have enough parking spaces, or you have to go to the Board of Adjustment to get a parking space reduction. So if anybody had any questions on that, that's how that's all going to work out.
no, you're right, it is tied to the use of the space, but
But besides the egress and the ingress and so forth and the dumpster location, I think as far as I'm concerned, I think it looks pretty good. It looks like they've got their handicap parking spaces sort of figured in there, and the dumpster enclosures. So to me, I think it looks real good.
I don't think I saw any bicycle parking in there, but maybe
No,
you can't tell.
that's something we can ask for, I guess.
Well, if we're going to have a somewhat more bicycle friendly community, that would be not at all bad.
I think over to that area. With bikes
Oh, yeah, and within the area, certainly.
and within the area.
To add just a little bit to your comments, Terry, I encourage this with Chad and it being the planned unit development. When you first brought in the preliminary plat, they had like over 120 parking spots. So I asked them, it being a planned unit development, to cut down a little bit on that. And the purpose of that is A, for usability, walkability, and then stormwater issues. And I guess from our perspective, in the direction we're trying to go with this type of site is for it to be a little bit more of neighborhood design. And so, yes, I agree with where you're coming from if something else different goes in there, but I also don't want West Branch to be a community with a bunch of empty parking spots too. So we've never talked about that. So normally that's a private conversation between me and staff members, but that's kind of the urban planning route as we're doing these planned unit developments. making sure we're double checking on what's best for that design. So,
Yeah, and there's also, when we redesigned that parking lot, we still have the ability to add 25 more spaces back on. So what we did in that development here is see how we shortened this up and made these drives longer? We actually set that up so we can pull that parking back down to where it was if I do end up with needing more spaces. If we do see there's an issue with what we end up putting in there, we actually made it so I can just go and literally pour these parking spaces all back in.
Yeah.
So I think it was 25 is what we took out, so we can add back in.
Yeah, and I wasn't questioning the number of parking spaces or so forth. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that's how it's determined and,
Yep.
you know, that we could add more parking spaces
Yeah.
if you needed to.
Yep.
Sally?
Well, I would agree that we definitely do not want to see a bunch of empty parking spaces. But one thing I don't want to see is a bunch of empty storefronts or commercial buildings. So do we?
I don't want to see that either.
I don't
That's
think-
definitely not. what
I don't
wanna
think
see.
anybody does. And so
No.
are there perspective?
We have a couple of people we've been talking to, yeah, we're just kind of getting started on this stuff and working for it. So.
Yeah, I definitely understand there's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we just made it easy to add the spaces if we end up needing more, so. Yeah, I'd love to fill it up right away.
yeah,
Fantastic.
what, Stevens looks
Be
pretty
great.
good up there.
What do you say? You want to run the space?
No, no, no.
Do you need to come 1,000 square feet?
Got a deal for you.
So any comments on my interest in bicycle parking?
I mean, I guess we would just have to figure out where that lays out, but, I mean, I think there's plenty of room for it. Terry, what were you, I'm sorry, sure, a little late there. You were talking about dumpster alignment?
Yeah, no, just, I noticed that you do have dumpsters located.
Yeah.
Here, as long as they're, you know, screened.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just look at an area and where, if it's in an island somewhere, or if you want to remove green space in an island somewhere, and put it in there or put pavement in and some type of small parking for bikes, I mean, that's not a huge issue. So we've done it before. So, yeah.
We'll think about it and see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just have to sit down with Ron and figure out engineering wise where the best fit's gonna be and actually where the best setup would be, so we don't have people wandering out in the middle of the parking lot, I guess, to get to it. Usually you want it accessible off of the sidewalk, which we could do that over by that dumpster enclosure too, just depending on how far away we want the bicycles to be. Yeah, because we want to, again, we've been trying to get the walkability part of this. That's the whole
Right.
design on it. So to add a bike in there would not be a big deal. So, yeah.
I occasionally raise the question of permeable parking. And the general response I get is that, well, it's not tried and not true and it costs too much and then we have to maintain it. I assume those would be the general answers.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I mean, Coralville does quite a bit of it. And we're working on a project, actually a commercial project in Coralville where we kind of looked at it. It's quite a bit more. The maintenance, long-term maintenance on it can be quite a bit too, just depending on how you set it all up. So we just know that it's quite a bit more. So.
Well, without it, you really need a fair amount of green space.
And we've sized everything to capture in our basins too, to go with that as far as that goes. So we've already kind of oversized all that stuff to make sure and take everything that we're going to have on this site. So.
Question, John.
Oh, yes. I was thinking.
The sidewalk along Elm, I guess there isn't a sidewalk shown here along Elm Street in these lots, is that? something
Yeah,
that's
there
planned
should
to
be,
installed?
there's,
Or is it just a different color maybe?
I'm trying to think.
From the north side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the north, it's on that north side. Is there one?
The
After-
line past the right-of-way line?
Yeah, I thought that he had that drawn in there. It's hard to see on this smaller
Do you
plan.
know if that'll be installed with this development, or is that part of the street project, which is maybe not done yet or something?
It usually goes with the lot itself, but because I know we've got a crosswalk designated there. You can kind of see the two squares. in that. So if we've got the crosswalk designated, I probably just can't see it on here, but I'm sure we probably have sidewalk figured in there. That might be that little small line. I'll have to check with him. So. Yeah, I can't imagine that we wouldn't have a sidewalk on that side of it.
Yeah, looks like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
one
one on both
line.
sides.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Go there at the corner.
it's just hard, kind of hard to see on the 11/17 size. So.
It doesn't look like this.
There.
Sally, you have another question?
It's probably a silly question, but in the parking area, because it's quite a, well, I don't know how big it really is, but is there any parking lot or parking sidewalks rather through the parking lot so that it's safe for people to get from their motor vehicle to either the restaurant or the other retail space safely?
No, typically we don't. It's
Don't do
usually,
that?
yeah, no,
Okay.
typically it's just your parking lot as your.
You
access.
just had a, okay.
Right.
I didn't know whether that was in this kind of. Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Comments? If not, we'll move the question. And that is to approve the preliminary plat of Parkside Hills. In approving this, I understand that attention will be paid to bicycle parking. So let's have
A motion to approve.
a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Thank you.
You want me to call it off of here?
I think that, yeah, roll call vote.
Fuller,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Van Squack,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Walsh, yes. Bauer,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, that moves us to item 4B, the Meadows subdivision part 3. Push my papers around here. So does anyone want to speak to this this proposal? Hello again.
How are you, John?
Doing fine, thanks.
I'm trying to do hearing aids just because I couldn't hear, so thanks to Johnny for letting me do that. What can I help you with on this?
Well, Gary, have you made any changes since we saw this?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
And there were several items we had to talk about. One was the radius of the road there. I didn't think it was right, and Dave agreed and Adam agreed, we met together and the radius on the original one wasn't enough for a street truck, a UPS truck, a fire truck, a moving van, whatever. So we have gone in and reconstructed that radius to give it a little more, which did shift the roadway Valley View Drive to the north about 40 feet. So it was taking out and adding square footage to all the lots.
Mhm.
So basically, lot 3, lot 1 and lot 2 grew a little bit because of the radius, but I think that's okay. I thought those lots were a little small to start with. I guess you can see there's a few square boxes on here of concern. We don't have the answers for those yet. We did put the overlay of the roundabout and Main Street improvements. I think that was kind of a question. People really didn't know how this was all laying together. I certainly didn't, but with Dave's help, we got that figured out. As far as the timetable on that, I mean, with our improvements, it's going to be a challenge how we do it and where we're at, but I think we have everything that you folks need to see. I don't have buildings on the lots, of course, because I don't know what's going on those lots, but we've got them identified, or they were identified. I see 1, 2 commercial, 3's commercial, 4 multifamily, 5 multifamily, or a combination of. One, what I want to bring note to is on the trail that runs up, for some reason it got back onto this plat from the last plat, where it makes the little curve there in the corner. That will be removed and put to the north of that property line.
Any questions of Gary?
Is there gonna be sidewalk on Valley View Drive?
On Valley View. Oh, sidewalks on both sides, correct?
Is there-
Yep, 2.5. You got your detail to the right there. Shows the sidewalk, the 5-foot sidewalk, the curb construction, street construction.
Got it.
We've got so many lines going in there, they didn't want to.
Yeah.
I'm confused with one on there. I don't know what that is, just north of Valley View. It runs across 5 into 4 and diagonals. I have no idea what that is. If anybody can tell me what that is. Might just be something to challenge
Looks
us.
like a public utility easement.
It's too far north.
Or is it G? I can't tell from. Dang,
No, that's what-
glasses on this puppy. Future location of the road limits based on.
G is a future right away, yeah.
Yeah, for Johnson Cedar line there, that's what the G refers to. Anyway, we'll find out what that line means, but I don't know. I couldn't, somebody had a question on it. I thought I'd bring it out first because I don't know what it is. Might just be a bloop there.
Yes,
Are there sidewalks showing the Cedar Johnson Road and Main Street?
No.
Should be.
It looks like there is.
What's the yellow?
What's that
line?
yellow?
Yeah, well, that's
That's
yellow.
fine, but I do, comment, it just simply states that we need to address that.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think it is just plain to say.
Sidewalk. Along Cedar Johnson and Main.
Well, and while we're talking about that, that came up before, Roger. Where's that sidewalk go? And it goes into a 20-foot, 30-foot deep valley. And you guys didn't have an answer for that. No, they're on Johnson Cedar.
Will get leveled out. So that, thus the need for an escrow. Or
Okay.
there has to be a sidewalk. That's all there is to it.
Essentially what he's saying, Gary, is we know future construction is gonna happen, so we ask for.
Yeah,
what
that's
the
fine.
Current cost of the sidewalk will be, and then the city holds it until Cedar Johnson.
That's fine.
Anybody know how long that's gonna happen?
Cedar Johnson,
Yeah,
my guess would be if a new council doesn't change our capital improvement plan, 2027 or 2028, we have some expiring debt that we would roll into a new project, which would be Cedar Johnson.
More optimistic than I've heard in the past. I did want to remark on the grind in of the roundabout. I think that's the best assumption that can be made right now. I also wanted to ask about the closeness of Valley View Drive to that roundabout, not in terms of people turning off Main Street into your development, but more in terms of people exiting your development and turning in particular to the right. I don't know if there are any engineering questions as to how close such a street can be to a roundabout. I got out a report about roundabouts, but I haven't been able to really research it well enough. Dave, do you have any comments on?
Yeah, we did look at this. There are a number of other locations that have a similar situation where coming out of the roundabout, there's an entrance to a development or a convenience store or something like that. We have also looked at site distance, 280 feet to move out this target in that area. So the location of the street entering on Main Street was set up with that in mind. And you'll note that there are also some turning lanes going in there in the center.
Mhm.
Transition off the main line, go over into that turn lane, turn into that area or coming out. Also that gap in there where somebody would not want that hatched area. If they had to avoid someone coming in, there's at least a place for them to pull off and not be in any like the traffic. So that's why that's set up that way.
Thanks. Other comments or questions that folks have? Barry, anything to add?
No, I don't on this one.
Adam?
No.
Okay.
John, I might just ask
Oh, right, I'm
one
sorry.
quick question.
I thought turned to my right there.
That's all
did
right.
I?
I wasn't pointing it out. So the list of comments in the packet
Right.
that we were given, I guess, have all those things been addressed, or are we being asked to approve this with that contingency still? Those things haven't been addressed yet.
So this revised site or revised plan was provided yesterday. I did look through this, so I had a chance to come back and take a look at this. I provided this morning after I had a chance to look at it. So you had these comments. Some of the things that are on your street lights, which we'll just have to get those put in as part of the construction drawings. As far as the ownership, we were dealing with when we did easements, that was something I want to clarify. That was still on here. That's not the transition. Correct. There's a floodplain that is in that northeast corner of lot 4. Where the two groups come together. I don't know what the impacts are of that floodplain on this. That approaches it. I don't know if they have easement shown there for that. So that's something that they'll have to add. I did include that floodplain snip in the flood boundary map on the back of these comments. You can see why I was questioning. As long as they just try and figure out evaluate that. That comment regarding, I think there's one additional comment.
Which is, what's that on date?
Up in the corner, if you look at the last page of these comments. Okay. So right in this corner, where these creeks come together, this is part of the map floodplain.
Okay.
And I don't know if it encroaches into here or not. We just need to show that, and if it does, just show that.
So is that part of this 25 or this 30 footage?
This drainage is to convey runoff from here down into the retention basin, but there is a floodplain that's mapped in this area. We just need to show that overall.
Okay.
And the last few comments are just related to the stormwater management, just to indicate how that basin is sized. If we have a certain level of imperviousness to the developments that occur on here, is that basin sized to accept 80% impervious, or is it less than that? So if we go through and look at the individual lots.
So yes, those conditions need to be addressed before council. Normally, we don't try and do that for you guys. I felt that was my error. I didn't realize how dead this area is during spring break. It's been a while. A lot of staff, a lot of even private consulting engineers were gone. I wouldn't have scheduled a meeting on the 22nd if I would have known the week prior everybody would be gone. So going forward, you should probably not see all these conditions. That shouldn't be a standard. But I felt that was my fault more than anything. So yes, to answer your question, there's still some conditions.
I don't think it's anything we haven't dealt with before. Just want to make sure we didn't omit something important. Motion.
So before Gary comes before us again, I hope these proposed conditions can be all worked out between you and the staff. Okay. Are we ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I think I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat with the conditions from these comments. All being met.
Okay, Ryan moves and then Brad seconds. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner member Fuller,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Ian Swick.
Yes.
Walsh, yes. Bauer.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, the next item on the agenda is something that Terry is going to tell us about. And that is, that is the draft language for signs.
Yes, this is the HCI zoning sign ordinance that we all looked at last couple meetings.
Right.
That was just put in the draft form so that we could go ahead and approve it and send it to council.
So essentially, this is quite standard language, which you'll find in most city ordinances.
Correct, correct. A lot of it's, like I said, when we were looking at this, a lot of this is taken out of our ordinance from other zones also. We'll put in a lot of the lighting and the location on some of these corner lots that we have in the HCI district for Vision Triangle. Pretty much everything that we touched on in the meetings.
I think in the last meeting, we mentioned, it's not related to this at all, but we possibly need to fill the PUD zoning with some signage requirements, or is that already covered by, is it referencing something that already exists, or do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know if we do have a PUD. PUD is pretty new.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something we want to address
I think in our
in the
last
near
meeting, we
future. Yeah.
talked about the possibility for these commercial buildings to have signs on them, and just maybe some way to generically reference the type of building that's being built, you know, whatever zoning that might have normally been in, maybe they follow that signage requirement or something like that. I don't know.
It's something we can definitely look at. You know, I don't have, anything off the top of my head what we would want to require. I mean, a lot depends on the type of PUD.
Yeah.
You know, we have primarily residential PUD. There isn't going to be any type of sign, but you've got, commercial on the main floor and, residential on the second or third floor. I mean, that's something, we might want to put some standards in there on the heights of signs and so forth. Especially if we got a PUD right downtown.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, well, we do, but we don't yet. But, we want to put maybe a few more restrictions on sizes and so forth on something like that.
Since the one downtown is in the middle of quite a few of the residential areas.
Correct.
Or just make it part of the review process for the PUD review, and
Mhm.
let the signs be reviewed at case by case instead of
And
trying to fit
that,
a standard to it.
and that could be, that type of language could be put right in the actual PUD. Signs will be reviewed on an individual, case by case basis, depending on, the type of uses that are being allowed in this PUD.
Do you remember what date, that would have been in one of our packets, right? The proposed ordinance
Yes, it would have been in not the last one, but I think the one before.
I think so.
in January?
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Regular meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to, I pulled it up.
And this ordinance would not apply to the historic district, right?
No.
Is that clear?
Well, this is just for the HCI.
Okay. That's clear.
Yeah, and that's what we didn't have any signage requirements for. Typically, I don't think we have any signage requirements for historic district either.
Oh, we do.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Pretty specific.
Okay, my bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, here it is.
I don't think I have any other questions about this specifically.
Anyone else?
I make a motion to approve the.
Motion made to approve. I'll second the motion. And I think in this case, because we've all been over it a fair amount, we can have a voice vote. All those in favor of approval of this ordinance? Aye.
I,
All those opposed? Okay, it passes. The next item we've got here is a little bit different and maybe in need of discussion. And that is essentially to have the rest of our meetings for the year on a monthly basis, except for December. I really haven't gone over my calendar and,
I feel like that's what we've done anyway for the last.
well, not quite, not quite, but close to it. And I don't know what you think about a summer month off. Like the people's vacations, but then they're scattered all over the place. And we certainly could get by with one or two people missing. So what do you folks think of this, this new schedule?
Would this eliminate the need for special meetings then?
I wouldn't say
Not completely
necessarily
eliminate, but it would be
Minimize,
less likely.
minimize.
Yes,
minimize. Yes, indeed, it would do that.
because I feel like when we figured in the,
And frankly, we can always call off a meeting if there's nothing on the agenda.
that'll be the day. That's a good problem to have.
We need, do you think we need to come in every month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Between
I think we have
developments
to.
and tweaking our ordinances.
I know we only signed up for 4 meetings a year and we've been having more like 7, so it's not that much to go.
It's November
11.
22nd, too close to Thanksgiving. Now that I'm seeing that, I didn't see it before, but
I think we have one less.
We did the week of Thanksgiving didn't we, last year, so.
I feel like if you
I
have a
guess not
Zoom
too
option
close.
too, I mean, I don't know how much
Yeah,
longer
there
you
are Zoom
intend.
options.
Zoom options make it a little bit easier
Yeah, it would. You can always do that from.
from wherever, yeah.
Location. Yeah.
Tahiti.
Wow.
You must have had a very
I
good
wish,
year.
no, no.
Oh, well.
Isn't that one of our perks on vacation?
Yes. Emily has moved that we accept this revised schedule. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Do we have any old business that we need to discuss? City reports? Roger?
The Kroll site is moving along. The developer is working on his plans. The next step is for the city to agree to TIF agreement. I think I said this last. A TIF agreement. And then closing dates may get set after that, shortly after that.
So not much changes since the second.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
this one's a little bit different just due to all the land swapping and buying. Typically, we usually like to have preliminary final plats locked in, but due to the unique situation of this, we're going with development agreement first. So typically, that's not the standard, but just due to the uniqueness and the trouble with getting that to go, developer probably won't move much further without some sort of sign.
He needs assurances from the city. We need to agree with the developer, otherwise it'll all fall
Okay,
apart.
thank you. Any comments from the members? Not,
A quick question.
yes.
I'm just curious, given all the traffic that's going on Johnson Cedar, the proposed traffic with Johnson Cedar, is it worth going back and resetting some traffic patterns and some concerns were perhaps out there. Just asking that question if we need to somewhat visit something like that.
Doing what on Johnson City?
Just revisit the studies that have been done with the traffic and making sure we have an understanding with the development and everything that's going on.
Well, there's been no studies on Johnson Cedar.
That might be, maybe that's even a question there. It's even something.
We had them on Main Street. But
Yeah, the study was on Main Street. Hopefully a roundabout will get completed.
I like what's being proposed, but I don't know that the date is the question. Kind of worried about some of the traffic that we're going to be seeing. That's definitely going to
I know,
increase.
yeah, that's why we need to target the improvement of Cedar Johnson. It's gonna be 5 years though, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe there's some considerations we just need to be looking at, and possibly even include this, this group here to take a look at some of that. I'm just asking that question. If that needs to be something we work on in, the monthly meetings.
Talking like revisiting the studies or.
Are there any?
No, not.
So you got,
Not
so you, but you have a
Cedar
event planning place, you have a golf course, you've got new developments, you've got new developments being proposed. I don't disagree with that. In terms
It's
of,
going to be a busy area.
yeah,
And it's gonna
Speed
get-
limit.
to
Well,
pretend it's not is not responsible.
Speed limit is 25, it's gonna be 25. We'll probably put some speed limit signs there.
let me suggest that the city consider a baseline traffic count. Just so that we know where we're starting from. And then a real traffic count could wait probably until we're closer to redoing the road.
Why pay for a $10,000 traffic study?
Why should we
We're gonna redo it
$10,000?
anyway.
I'm not talking about a traffic study. I'm talking about putting some counters out. I have no idea what that would cost, but it can't be $10,000, can it?
The west side of that road is in Johnson County, and Johnson County MPO did assist us with the initial study on Main Street. I can reach out to them to find out if they would be willing to put a traffic counter out there, just to get some information for us. I believe they did take a look at turning movements in 2014 when they were analyzing that intersection, and we can take a look at that study to see what the traffic was
They may
then.
have something.
Right. We had also incurred quite a bit of development and additional traffic since that time. I think once Orange Street, we see the plans for that in the last phase of the Meadows, how that's going to go through or what happens with that, that's going to make a difference too, as far as directing people that way.
Right.
So there are some things that are still going to change that will influence that, as well as a roundabout, and we're going to see some false information because of the construction work going on initially on Herbert Hoover Highway. And then once that's done, we're going to see quite a bit of difference once they shut down the exit ramp for the interstate work. We're going to see different traffic patterns. So we're going to see a variable traffic out there for a while. And as development continues to happen, that's also going to influence that. So
Baseline's probably not a bad idea.
a baseline's not a bad idea. We'll see if we get some traffic counts now and compare that to 2014, and then also look at based on housing and trip generation, what we expect to see up there.
Thank you. Thanks, James, for bringing it up. Okay, if there's no additional business, I will make a motion that we adjourn our meeting. Is there a second?
Motion.
All those,
Brad's always down for that one.
thank you, Brad. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, very good. See you on April 26th. Yep. Unless something brings us together before that.